I would like to call this meeting to order. While this meeting is being held in person in consideration of the ongoing COVID-19 health concerns, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if that is preferred. Instructions on how to participate virtually are included in the City Council calendar item that's listed on the front page of missionks.org. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Audrey, please call roll.
Boltinghouse.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Flora.
Here.
Inman.
Here.
Kring.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 1, public hearings. We do not have any public hearings tonight, so we'll move right into special presentations. And we do have one presentation. Chief Madden, would you please introduce us to our newest mission police officer?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Officer Kayla Walker joined the Mission Police Department after working in private security for 3 years. While there, she earned her way up to a supervisory position with that company. Her goal was to use her experience in private security to earn a position in law enforcement, and we're glad she did. She was further inspired by her father, who was a law enforcement officer and still serves in a non-sworn capacity at a local police department. Kayla grew up in Roland Park and graduated from Shawnee Mission North High School, so she's local. What I find the most fascinating is when I did the chief interview with her, she described herself as quiet and shy. And why that struck me is during that time of COVID, we were doing all of our interviews via Zoom. And I was walking down the hall when they were interviewing her, and I heard this voice that just stopped me in my tracks, just how well she could communicate. So it was interesting. She thought she was shy because she's a wonderful communicator. She is currently in her final stages of field training officer program and will be hitting the streets on her own soon. So Mayor and Council, I'd like to introduce you Officer Kayla Walker.
My family is part of the back row. I guess starting from the left is my twin sister, Nicole, her son, Levi, my personal son, Hayden, my sister-in-law, Rachel. Next to her is my brother, Kyle. Next to him is my mom, Janice. Next to her is my mom's boyfriend, Barry. In the very back row is my dad, who he mentioned, Jeff.
You're welcome. All right, we'll grab a couple pictures.
I did want to mention that Kayla is doing a great job. She already stopped me once in Millhaven. So congratulations. All right, that concludes item 1 or item 2. We'll move into item 3, issuance of notes and bonds. We do not have any notes and bonds to issue this evening. So moving on to item 4, which is our consent agenda. Our consent agenda does have 4 items on it this evening. Our council committees met on August 4th, and we fully discussed each of these items. The committees agreed that the listed items listed on our consent agenda are routine enough to be considered under a single motion. If a council member or a member of the public would like any item removed from the consent agenda, they may make that request at this time. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the city council adopt the consent agenda as printed, items 4A through 4D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Audrey, please call for the vote.
Thomas,
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Kring,
Aye.
and Flora.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, that concludes item 4. Moving on to item 5, public comments. If any member of the public would like to make a comment on items that are not on the agenda, now would be the time to do that. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak, and we will call on you shortly to make your comments verbally. Remember, your comments are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you are part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand, but stay seated, and we will call on you to come to the lectern to make your comments. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also, be conscientious of others trying to speak, and speak slowly and clearly. If I need to confirm something that may have been difficult to hear, I will ask for clarification. Is there any member who would like to come and make a public comment? All right, hearing none, that concludes item 5. We'll move on to item 6. These are action items from the Planning Commission. We do not have any items from the Planning Commission this evening, so we'll move into our committee reports. Item 7, all of the items considered by the committees this month were placed on the consent agenda for approval. As a result, neither Councilmember Kring nor Councilmember Boltinghouse will have reports to provide this evening. And since we don't have anything to consider under unfinished business, we will move into new business. We do have one item under new business, which is the updated COVID-19 masking protocols from Ms. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you know, that central to our conversations for the last 18 months or so has been all issues COVID related and how that impacts our various city operations and our interactions, not only in and among our employees, but our interactions with the public. At the end of the expiration of the countywide mask mandate in April, we made several decisions regarding masking requirements within each of our city facilities and for various operations. The decisions that we made back in May impacted both employees and the public. However, with the surge in COVID-19 cases, particularly as a result of the Delta variant that we've seen in recent weeks, it's a time to revisit those protocols again. So the CDC had moved to updated guidance regarding masking requirements, making a distinction between vaccinated and non-vaccinated individuals, with the findings that suggest that fully vaccinated people can both become infected with the Delta variant and spread the virus to others. We came back to the council in your last committee meeting with information on changes that we had made internally with respect to how our employees are interacting in their own work areas and on the job, and laid out several items related to masking for council consideration and decision. Obviously, the change to kind of make that slide backward was not welcome news for any of us, but certainly continuing to make decisions to protect the health and safety of the public and our employees is important. So during our August 4th Finance and Administration Committee meeting, we presented several additional masking protocol decisions for the council, including requirements for the public in our city facilities and protocols for city council meetings. So the staff recommendations that we brought forward at the April committee meeting generally mirrored the practices that had been put in place since mid-May. And so that was an encouragement, but not requirement for the public to be masked in public lobby areas, of City Hall, the Police Department, and Public Works facilities when inside a rental space here at the community center, when exercising at the community center, or when attending a public meeting such as a city council meeting. Masking for the public will be encouraged and required in the following situations: fingerprinting. So if that's a service that residents come and is performed for a fee, in very close proximity, fingerprinting services in the police department, when in any non-public area of a city facility. So if there's a need to come back to an individual office or work area for one of our employees. And then in all common areas of the community center, which would include entry, around the entry desk, the hallways, the bathrooms, the locker rooms, et cetera. Just a reminder that shortly after we brought forward these recommendations, this facility closed on August 16th and is closed for its annual 2-week maintenance period. So there is currently, at least through the end of the month, no public in this building at any time. Staff also at the August committee meeting recommended that city council meetings continue to be held here at the Powell Community Center so that we can maintain appropriate physical distancing, and that all council and staff be required to wear a mask. So during the committee meeting, Councilmember Schlossmacher asked that this issue be brought forward to this evening's legislative meeting for a vote. And Councilmember Davis suggested that he would like to see a revision to the staff recommendations to require masking of the public while attending city council meetings. So we're here for additional discussion and decisions so that we know then how to appropriately message at our various city facilities.
All right, Ken?
I'm very concerned. I know that you've been monitoring the current information that's been provided by our chief medical officers in the area, the intensity of the virus and what has been happening in our community. And furthermore, many hospitals cannot take any more patients. In fact, patients are being airlifted to Wisconsin and other states in order to find medical attention for COVID. Based on this, I would certainly welcome discussion. I will go ahead and make a motion and then let the discussion proceed. Mayor, I move that the city council approve COVID-19 masking protocols in accordance with staff recommendations with the modifications to require masks for the public in addition to council and staff during public meetings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hillary?
I agree with Ken's comments and recommendation to add that additional requirement. I'm also wondering why not the recommendation for masks in public areas of City Hall, police station, and public works facilities while having that requirement here at the community center.
One is volume of traffic. So that we have very little traffic. The majority of the public that we have in any of our buildings occurs here in the community center, obviously. Additionally, there is an opportunity both in the police department and at City Hall for an employee to interact with a member of the public from behind a glass partition or divider. So there's not a need for our employee to step out and be in a more open that lobby with a member of the public. I think when we discussed it back in May, what I recall was that our goal was to require our employees to be masked at all times, even if dealing with a member of the public from behind that glass partition. And that we would certainly encourage or ask the members of the public, we have masks available at all times, but that we did not want our employees to have to be in a position to feel like they were asking or having to sort of police that. But that's certainly something that could be reevaluated with the current situation.
I personally would like to see public areas and all of our public facilities require masking. While I understand that exercising area and rental space exceptions. I'd like to see the common areas also be part of that.
Solly?
I think that makes sense. I think we've done a really good job of following the public health guidance throughout the pandemic, and that's helped keep our community safe. And, CDC has updated its guidance to even if you're vaccinated, you should be wearing a mask indoors. So I would support, if Hillary wants to make a further amendment, I would support that.
Trent?
I support Ken's motion and also agree that, it's unfortunate. I don't think anybody takes any pleasure in, continuing to wear these. I know I don't, but I continue to think it's smart and makes sense for the public to keep following that guidance. So I'll support Ken's motion too.
Anybody else? Debbie?
Just as an example of how this thing has changed, my son was vaccinated in February and came down with COVID 2 weeks ago and had severe headache and nausea. And it wasn't as severe, but even if you're vaccinated, you have to be really conscientious and cautious for other people's sake. So he hasn't been to my house for 2 weeks, so not coming either.
Anybody else? Hillary?
Here, I'd like to make an amendment to Ken's motion, if that is the proper process. Okay. Mayor, I move the city council approve COVID-19 masking protocols in accordance with staff recommendations with the modification to require masks for the public in addition to council and staff during public meetings, as well as in public areas, including lobbies, bathrooms, courtrooms of city hall, police, and public work facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, I would call for the amendment, call the roll on the amendment.
Thomas,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Kring,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Flora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, so
So there's really no need
action
for
on
the
the
other,
motion.
because the amendment incorporated Councilmember Davis's motion.
okay.
I accept that.
All right, does that conclude new business?
Yes.
All
It
right.
does, Mayor. Thank you.
That concludes item 9. Moving on to item 10, comments from the city council. Does any council member have a comment they would like to make? This has got to be a new one. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 11, a mayor's report. We have a new appointment to our Parks and Recreation and Tree Commission to consider. The governing body, really always appreciates the service of our community volunteers and their hard work in guiding important decisions which have a direct and positive impact on our city. So this evening, I would put before you a recommendation to appoint Ward 3 resident Kim Weir to the Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2022.
Mayor, I move the city council appoint Kim Weir, Ward 3, to the Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion?
Could we ask if Kim is here this evening?
Yes, I think I saw her come in.
Can you stand for us? Hi, Kim.
All right, any other discussion, comments? Seeing none, please call for the vote.
Flora,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
and Kring.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, that concludes item 11. Moving on to item 12, City Administrator's Report. Ms. Smith, do you have something you would like to update with the council?
I do have several things. Your July monthly interim financials were included in the packet, and this month, with your permission, we transitioned and just gave you the executive summary in the packet with a link to all of the nitty gritty detail on the website. So I hope that made the packet a little less cumbersome for you this time. And I'm sure most of you went out and dug through all of that 137 pages of detail. I won't spend a lot of time on the July summary because we covered kind of where we are year to date during our work session. But again, just for the record, this evening, sales tax performance continues to be very strong, really sort of carrying the day both last year and through this year. We're in good shape, both from a revenue perspective. Departments are doing an outstanding job of managing on the expense side, which again has resulted in some of the recommendations and revisions to the 2021 estimates that we covered earlier this evening. County sales and use tax again continues to perform well. We have a total of $14.8 million of cash and investments on hand. Portion of that is that $5.2 million in the general fund, and a large portion of that is in our capital infrastructure funds, both the street CIP for street maintenance and stormwater infrastructure and stormwater utility fund. So our cash balance position is strong overall. Major expenditures from July included emergency sinkhole repairs, installation of the park monument signs. And if you've noticed, the park, the wayfinding signs for other parts of the community are now up and I think look really fantastic. So thanks to staff and everyone who was involved in moving that forward. We've been working on street design for both this year's program and next year's program, and the street program actually started here last week, so that's exciting. Our participation in the Racial Equity in Cities pilot program, which will kick off with all of the cities in the cohort beginning to meet in September. And then expenses related to operations and maintenance of the outdoor pool. And again, you'll see a quick year-end recap from Jenna at your September committee meeting. And then just sort of cost recovery here at the community center. We've started showing that history for your benefit there. So happy to answer any specific questions you might have over July financials. And otherwise, a couple of other things this evening. So just clarification, I think most of us talked about it following the work session, but we will not have a need for a work session on August 25th. So no work session next Wednesday. You get that Wednesday night back. I will send out a poll here in the next couple of days for a preferred meeting date in September, since September does have 5 Wednesdays to look for that larger conversation around parks that we were discussing during the work session. Still do not have confirmation from the Broadmoor Office Park building to use their property for fireworks for the picnic. So we still haven't rolled out the date of that, but we're still tentatively targeting October 9th. I know council members Davis and Flora had a Ward 4 meeting recently, and you sent several follow-up items. I've got all of that from our staff. I just need to get that compiled and we'll get that out. I will share it with all of the council because there were several bigger picture items that I think everyone would have an interest in seeing. So we'll get that out. We had our first sales tax town hall meeting last night. It was conducted in person and virtually. I think we had great attendance from council and the staff. I think we had maybe 7 or so residents in attendance, but they asked great questions. But for our technical difficulties and what is clearly a decimal point error on the part of the city administrator, which I'll share with you in just a little bit here. I think it was a really good meeting, great opportunity, great exchange, both with those participants online. We will have our next town hall, which will be virtual only. I think I have this right, Emily, but August 26th at noon. Yes? Okay. And then we will be having another in-person town hall in advance of your city council meeting on September 15th. So the correction, so the materials which we've corrected, we caught the flyer before it went to print this morning and updated it. So how much does a 3/8 cent sales tax mean for you? So on a $10 purchase, it's not 38 cents, which our slide said last night, it's 4 cents. And on a $100 purchase, it's 38 cents. So I promise I did not have decimal point errors in the general fund budget I shared with you earlier this evening. We've just had our noses down and buried in that. So I apologize for that. And again, we've spent this morning trying to get all of those materials updated, but that's great news. And that is all I have this evening.
All right, thank you. Debbie?
Quick comment. I wanted to really compliment Brian and whatever staff worked on that project update. I have used that over and over. If I drive down Johnson Drive and I look over and I think, I wonder what's going on, I can look back and find out exactly what that project update entailed. And I would, even if we could do it every other month, it would be great to have those project updates. It was really helpful. Thank you.
All right, that concludes item 12. Item 13, we do not have a need for an executive session this evening. So before we adjourn tonight, I want to share with the public that the video from this meeting will be available through a link on our website, missionks.org. There being no further business tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.